Welcome back. You're watching the Power Breakfast Show. Now, this morning our conversation is on climate change and, you know, the effect it has on the environment and more so water. And in studio we have Honorable Njogu Barua. He's a member of Parliament for Gishogo, together with Dr. Isaac Kalua, the chairperson of the Kenya Water TARS Agency. And we want you to get involved. 22422 is the SMS line, or you can get us on Twitter. The hashtag is Power Breakfast. We'd love to hear from you. Your comments, suggestions, any questions in regard to the conversation we're having here on the Power Breakfast Show. But for now, I hand you over to Mr. Njau. Mr. Njau.
Thank you, Kurigo. Welcome, Mheshimiwa.
Thank you very much, Mutegi.
Kalua.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Barua and me worked for Nation for many years ago, in the 90s. I was an intern there. And now he has elevated himself from a reporter to a PhD person. You are one of the people who sponsored or took part in the passing of the new Climate Act.
Yes.
What does it entail? What is there that was not there?
Thank you, Mutegi, for this opportunity. Thank you, Roy Media, for coming in here for the first time in the Citizen TV. The Climate Change Bill Act is an act right now. It was sponsored by Honorable Member for Muhaya, Honorable Otichiro, and it's the second time it's being introduced in Parliament. During the third Parliament, it was introduced, passed, and sent the President for assent. Unfortunately, it was not assented to because of an issue of public participation. That was the 10th Parliament. When it came to 11th Parliament, the bill was introduced again. It was negotiated, and the aspect of public participation was well catered for, passed on to the President, and is been signed into law. So the Climate Change Bill right now as it is provides for a legal and institutional framework which did not exist before to take care of the issues of mitigation and adaptation on matters of carbon or of climate change, and also the issue of ensuring that we have low carbon emission activities, so that we do have as low levels of greenhouse gases as possible, and by so doing we shall be able to manage the climate of the earth so it can be habitable for humanity for a long time. So the bill basically talks about mitigation and adaptation. Mitigation is a situation whereby a situation of an effect of climate change where it is anticipated in advance and mitigation measures are put into place. When it comes to adaptation refers to a situation whereby the effect of climate change have already been felt in a certain environment, such as increasing desertification or drought, such as flooding and so forth, and hence people or communities living under such circumstances are equipped with skills and capacities to adopt the current environment, current situation, and continue their livelihood to their satisfaction. The bill at the moment provides for a National Climate Change Council, which is an advisory organ domiciled at the office of the President, and its main purpose of the council is to provide for advice and coordination among various levels of government, as the national and county government, and also between and among stakeholders, both government and non-governmental. Finally, one of the other key aspects of the bill is that it provides for a climate change fund, which receives money for the first time from consolidated fund. It can also receive money from grants, and the purpose of this fund is to ensure that the activities of the National Climate Change Council are actually implemented to the acceptable level.
Looks like a very nice legislation.
It is.
But is it effective now as we speak? It's an act of Parliament.
As it is,
as it starting operation.
As it is now, is an act of Parliament. Just a few it seems to be signed by the President. Is about a week now, and so now the government is in the process of establishing institutions and forming the relevant councils and the relevant council and the board, so that they can start now operationalizing it. So we expect that we are going to see a lot of change in as far as the environmental management is concerned. It's for the first time in the 2016-2017 budget, we shall have monies appropriated by the National Assembly to cater for climate change issues.
Dr. Karua, you have been in this business for years. Is it because of we lack law that we have our climate and the environment has been ruined? Is it because is it because of this lack of this?
Maybe first and foremost, allow me to congratulate Mheshimiwa here and Mheshimiwa Otichilo, the lady minister CS in charge of environment, the Kenya Climate Change working group, Mr. Kioli and their team, for a tremendous job done. They are the best, and again another feather in the Ministry of Environment for good work that has been done by the team there. Issues of climate change are issues that are very sensitive and quite emotive, that we need to be careful about. It is about our mentality. Sometimes it is about greed. Sometimes it's about misusing the law and constitution that we actually have, because you realize in this country you can do almost anything and rush to court, and therefore people get it right in as far as the constitution is concerned, but then you get it wrong because morally there are things that we should not do because of posterity. And therefore it's a mentality issue and something that we must wake up and understand that we must do something differently.
So for instance, the things to do with deforestation. Everybody knows that if we spoil our forest areas, we are supposed to be at 10%, but we are less than 3%.
True.
Since independence, why is that not obvious that we plant trees?
Let me
need a bill like this one to plant trees.
Well, the bill now we need this act, and Kenya is now ahead of every country in Africa right now and among world leaders, because the bill brings together, the act brings together all players. It brings in the coordination role. It is now the president that takes lead and command of the processes of issues and matters of climate change, most of which are human caused, and therefore there is that coordination role that has been lacking, so that there are multi-institutions that are dealing with the same thing. But coming to the issue that you are raising about deforestation, you know, Mutegi, and I think we need to simplify these issues and communication on matters of deforestation. My organization, the Kenya Water Towers Agency, working with other related institutions, you saw recently with the minister, we released information about forest cover in our country, where we clearly stated that the forest cover right now, it's a mistake when you say 3%, it is at 7.1% nationally. And we even went further down to bring it out county by county, so that the county of Nyeri is at 38%. The county of Elgeyo Marakwet is at 37%. The county of Lamu is at about 36 or thereabout. The county of Siaya is at 0.4%. The county of Kitui at about 7%. The county of Machakos at 3%. County of Makueni 11%. So and on. And it is therefore very important that the people in these counties, starting with the governors, understand the importance of the forest in this place. And today I decided to do something very different, with your permission, Mutegi, so that we can help our listeners, our viewers, to understand the importance of our forests, the importance of our watersheds and the wetlands, and also these matters, how they deal. And I carried with me some water. And I wanted to understand, so that we can make people understand why we need forests, why we must keep them and the vegetation in these areas. When you have a forest like Nyeri, for instance, where it is at 37, what the forest does and vegetation does is like a sponge. So when the rain falls, the water gets into the sponge, and that is now the land and the soil, and it is absorbed, and then it is released slowly into the rivers, because these are the natural drainage systems. And even when the rain is over, there is still some water, and it will still flow into those areas. The lack of vegetation in these areas, the lack of forests and deep-rooted trees that happens in these areas means that when the water falls, it just runs immediately, and therefore you see the cause of the floods that we are having. Look, I just took this water from a river this morning along Langata as I was coming down, and you find this is red in color, yet the color of water is this. What does this mean? It means that there is a lot of erosion of water, that is of soil, that is happening in these areas. Why? Because there is a lot of uncovered area. People are also picking grass from the forest and selling it off the roads as grass carpets. When you leave these areas, Mutegi, with the exposed soil, it means that that water will be carried away. Again, people are even planting and creating farms next to the rivers. Yet there are instructions and regulations in this country, Mutegi, that are very clear, that a certain meterage or space along the river must be kept clear. Others are draining the wetlands where water naturally sits. Again, this is another area that water is supposed to be kept. Others in areas where they don't have trees and they have sand, because sand has been created all the way, they are transporting these sands, which also operate just like the sponge in retaining water in these areas. And therefore the lack of trees, the interruption of all this is causing an enormous problem, which is all climate change related. Places where you have cleared trees, it means that there is a lot of heat that is being created. This heat goes into the cloud. The warmer the clouds, the cooler the ground is. And therefore this is transported into other areas, and then it becomes those torrential rainfalls that we've been seeing. Therefore matters of rainfall, matters of climate change are real, and we need to wake up into this reality and understand that we must be able to do this. Look at the recent floods, Mutegi. Apart from Saturday, I think the 7th or thereabout, which was recorded to have had 104 millimeters of rainfall, which is very high. For your information, during the El Nino 98, I think we were doing, some places like Lamu were doing 200 millimeters of rainfall. But the normal rainfall meterage measurement is just about 50 millimeters, which is quite a lot of rain. And therefore, if you don't manage this well, drainage systems that we are having in this city, you can imagine in 1970s the city was created for about 1 million people, Mutegi. Today we are dealing with over 3.5 or 4 million people, and we don't have systems and regulations, and people, instead of getting to do what they must do, they're just running to court and then getting. In fact, it is becoming a very stylish way. Even if government officials want to help you, I think I cannot help you. The only thing I can help you is to ask you to rush to the court so that you can come and we allow you to continue. These are the moral issues that we must wake up and start understanding that climate change is caused by us. We need now to follow, and I thank all those. Mheshimiwa, thank you for the issue of the Climate Change Act together with your team. And therefore we must now wake up and start dealing with issues, understanding morally that we have a future that we must hand over to the future generations and deal with it.
But my concern is this: if you talk, for instance, of riparian areas, even in rural areas, when I was growing up, the chief will never allow anybody to plant maize and beans next to the river. You have to clear, except maybe arrow roots, which are also protected by the system. But you cannot go and dig a shamba next to the river. You have to leave 30 feet. Every village, everybody knew that. Why did it change all of a sudden that people now not even farming but even building next to the river?
Back to the moral issues. Because in this country we actually have regulations. Even before the Climate Change Act, we still had the issues of the law on survey, which clearly states how much space can you leave from the sea, from the river, from the lake. It's very clear. WARMA doing a very good job.
WARMA means?
Water Association, resource
management.
Management. So they have cleared very well how much space you can leave, and they do actually the pegging, which is space about 9 meters, and also MCA, which is very clear, the law that manages NEMA. The 9 meters is the least that you can leave, or otherwise 2 times the size of a river. All these laws have been there, very clearly indicated. But then we have people, just because you have power, or just because you have money, and just because you are a little bit more greedy than others, then you decide to go and build along that space, and then imagine that things will be right. You know, nature is something else. Nature has its own way. Why would there be a river or a bridge in Muhoroni that is cleared all of a sudden? It's because nature is nature. It will take off with everybody and everything. Look at Huruma. God keep the souls of these people and protect the families and provide for them. But this is something that we could have easily avoided. And I think now, you know, the problem is that action starts being taken when calamities appear. And I'm glad that now 2,000 title deeds are being revoked. We want actually to see them revoked. We want to see Timol, that opposite house there, being brought down without blinking of an eye, because it is a necessity. It is something that painful to the person who has built it, and I pray that he can be compensated, but it has to come down together with the next one and many other institutions. So it's something that Mutegi, that we must wake up to do. And I want to imagine even a situation where the president puts together a task force, if not the county, or working together with the county and the ministry. The minister is very able to do things than other institutions. And these issues don't just tackle this. There are 4 areas of confusion when it comes to these matters. One is areas of riparian space. The second one is the area of zoning. The third one is the matter of change of user. And the fourth one is encroachment to forests. These 4 areas must be dealt with conclusively for the good of this country.
Mheshimiwa, since we're in Parliament, we, after Huruma, the government or city government is going to demolish certain buildings, although the government, the Minister of Housing says they can be reinforced. That's what I hear. We heard there was this UK, Nakumat UK, that building, it was, you know, the water went to the shop. Nobody is talking about demolishing those houses in those up areas. It's only the poor areas that they are saying they can demolish. Why is that so? I expect that building where UK is should be demolished. In fact, when it was being built, Wangari Maathai made a lot of noise about it. And nature, as he says, has proved that Wangari Maathai was right. Are we going to have those kind of buildings demolished?
I think that's a very good observation, Mutegi, and it's a sad day for Kenya, a sad moment for Kenya. And for some time, investors have done the investments with a lot of impunity. I recall very vividly when I was working in the National Environment Management Authority, the Secretary of the Public Complaint Committee on Environment. Wangari Maathai and our committee protested the putting up of that UK center on a riparian area. They were overturned by the courts, and the building was put up. Now we are proving that what environmentalists said, led by Wangari Maathai, was right. And the time has come for us as Kenyans now to start following and actually agreeing with expert advice. Sometimes, and most of the time, it is done in good faith. When you go to Huruma, it's a very sad situation, because the building which is collapsed the other day and others which have been condemned are actually put up in very fragile ecosystems. So naturally, even reinforcing them may not solve the situation because it depends on the foundation. What I would like to comment about the poor and rich zones of the Nairobi is that even those houses which are poorly done in the Easterns are actually investments by the rich people.
Yeah.
It's not the poor person who is putting up a 6-story house. They're the same people who are actually acquiring plots illegally and not following the necessary processes to get the licenses. So like I hear that some of those buildings were recommended for 1 story. Then somebody goes up and down another 5. So even reinforcement may not help. My opinion is that the time has come for us to bite the bullet. And you have to lead by examples. If you have put some illegal structure somewhere, because the earth is not for us, it's also we are actually holding it in trust for posterity. It is a high time we put it down, so that the future generation, our generations, will stop from ever contemplating doing an illegality. So in my opinion, and what I propose in the parliament, is that it does not matter where the building is, either in Western, Eastern, Kisumu or Mombasa, as long as that building it is illegally put up, as long as in a fragile ecosystem, as long as it threatens the life of Kenyans, it should not exist. The other issue which Dr. Kalu has touched on is the issue of an issue of question whether you need this law. Yeah. The environmentalism in Kenya has taken it's been a long journey, and up to until the late 90s, this country has been using the laws which were enacted during the colonial days. And you find that these laws, some of the penalties which were recommended in these laws were so cheap, were so low, such that even investors were even opting to break the law, because if they are taken to court, they were found the fees very easily. The other issue is that climate change is real, and the entire globe has realized that if we don't take actions on climate change, we shall all perish. And let me tell you, Mutegi, if humanity is erased from this world, nature will regenerate without ourselves. Humanity, anthropogenic activities are the ones which have virtually amended the environment to where we are. In December, we were in France for the climate change conference of the parties 21, and for the first time we had a global agreement to limit the increase in global climate by a maximum 1.5 degrees centigrade for the next 100 years. This is something which should not have been contemplated before, because the Western governments like the United States, which never even ratified the Kyoto Protocol, is finding itself in threat and in danger if you don't address the issues of climate change. Finally, I would like to say that climate change is not an environmental issue. It is actually a cross-cutting issue. It is a developmental issue. It affects all sectors, and so everybody must be involved. The other issue about chiefs and authority is that this issue of development, the chiefs must play their roles. If they don't play their roles,
but you know the Chiefs Act was
repealed.
Repealed.
Yes.
So they have no power. Chiefs these days have no power.
Yes, that's what I'm coming to.
Yes.
Chiefs have no powers. But I can tell you that, Mutegi, I've seen the impact of climate change in my lifetime, which is not so long. The rivers used to struggle to cross, now we can jump over them.
Yeah.
We can jump across them. What is happening is that in the new water bill, which is now in the third reading in the National Assembly, we have recommended a riparian law. We are going to have a law which is going to guide how we are going to use the riparian areas. That is, what land use systems are you allowed by the government to put into place in those areas next to rivers, maybe 30 feet from the river and so forth. Right now, because of greed, people are planting their seeds all the way into the river. The other issue is that the pressure on population is not taking its toll. You see the land size is going slow and slowly, and people are going to farm against the river. The other thing which is like a big problem for this country, and actually the globe, is that the common mwananchi, the common citizen, is not well informed as to what he should demand from the leadership. So they are not even educated on the impact or the actions they are taking. So that is why this Climate Change Council is very important, because it's going to take leadership in research and actual information dissemination, telling people, if you do this, you're going to have this impact. If you do this, you're going to have these problems. If you do this, you're going to have funds. When the common mwananchi is empowered, is informed, you can divide the right thing and also be able to do the right thing.
We are going to have a council.
Yes.
In terms of implementing this law, how do we get to the grassroots? How do we get to the village?
The thing is, this law was actually passed by, was discussed by the National Assembly and also discussed by the Senate, because this law affects the counties. So we are going to have structures at the national level and also at the county government level. If you look at the Environmental Management and Coordination Act, we have county environmental committees. They are going to be key players in this implementation of the provisions of the Climate Change Act. So this act also, you remember what I said when I started, that the 2010 Act bill was not assented to by President Kibaki because there was no public participation. This act, which has been passed and signed to law this month, actually takes very seriously public participation. The common man must participate in the issues of management of the environment. Finally, I'd like to say that the Constitution also provides that every Kenyan is entitled to a clean and healthy environment. That one must be enhanced, must be achieved, and that we call upon participation of every Kenyan for us to achieve the objective of this act.
That's the ideal situation, though.
It is the ideal situation, but as I said, Mutegi, is that the issue of climate change are real, and people are seeing the threats. And now we are going to move into action.
And you see, Mutegi, like you're saying about the building in Nakumatt, UK. Some situations are real, but I must say that people, we also have very daring people. Can you imagine, even in that kind of a scenario, already there was an application and even a process that was ongoing to try and divert the causeway of the river so that you build parking space around that place.
So for the people,
you can imagine, for the shoppers. So you can imagine how people can be daring, how we can want to make money over anything else. But you see, one thing, Mutegi, that we should not imagine that all is lost. The fact that I am here together with Mheshimiwa and yourself talking about this issue, it means there is a direction and there is a way that can be found and has been found. And that we now realize that some of these things that we keep talking about, even though we may not be in the streets, the importance of protecting our water towers cannot be overemphasized. Because this matter, protection of these water towers, is equivalent to our agricultural sector growth. Where there are forests, where there is enough water upstream, it means that there is more food for the nation. When there is too much rain, because this is not actually too much rain, it is because we have not managed it well, and because of climatic issues that we have this problem, we need to see the water as an advantage. We need to start, and I am a singer of water harvesting, and I want to see it being done for the good of our people. It is clearly and scientifically known, Mutegi, that a person, a normal human being, apart from those in Nairobi, they spend a lot of water. You spend about 20 liters of water per day. In Nairobi is over 100, but a normal person in down country is 100 liters of water. A goat is about maybe 30 liters. A cow maybe 50 liters. You can calculate and then understand how much water tank do I have in my home. You find that we have water tanks that fill up just 2 days after the rains, the rest just pour away. And therefore, it is important that now to think, we have so much water, what can we do? How much can we conserve? Buy a bigger tank, calculate how much time are we going to have a period without water, and therefore you buy a bigger tank. Even if you come together and raise funds for this purpose, do a small dam near the house and somewhere that you can be able to use this water efficiently to do. It is a shame that after this rainfall, you find just 2 days after this, people are doing again their 5 kilometers to go and get water. And these are the issues that we need to educate our people. So nothing is actually lost because you can wake up and make very good progress. The second issue, Mutegi, there is an opportunity. Take an example of America. They have a system they call FEMA, F-E-M-A. If you can Google at your best time, you can be able to know. It's called Federal Emergency Management Agency. They compensate people who have been affected, both the people who have constructed buildings or even rent, like a situation like Huruma. This would have been a perfect situation. And I want to thank the young innovators. If you go to the internet now and Google pesabazaar.com, these are young Kenyans who are coming up with a system where you can compare the prices of our insurance industry and various options, including insurance for the old people and even this kind of situation, so that people can be able to deal with this. Insurance institutions need to be ahead of us, thinking even, you know, before it used to be an act of God. This now has got to be described differently because matters of climate change have now coming in, and there are serious phenomena that must be dealt with so that we can get good progress. People need to start imagining of all these things. And then cultural issues. You find that, and I want to thank institutions like Nyumba Kumi initiative. I think it is being done by one Mr. Kaguzi. You know, despite we may talk anything about it, but these people are working. They are dealing with all these subjects and educating people on various issues. What can be done? What needs to be done so that there can be good progress in our institutions. During campaigns in Africa, this is the time that natural capital is badly affected because people are looking for money for campaigns. These are the times in Africa, not only in Kenya alone, that you find licenses for cutting down trees in forests, the destruction of so many things, the activities that would normally not happen. People now need to wake up, and I am glad that institutions that are concerned know of this phenomenon that keeps coming at around this time and be able to wake up. People need to also understand now the meteorological department has invested a lot in radio stations, which I suggest they should not just be radio stations on matters of climatic change issues at the county level. They need even to commercialize them. And you, even as a citizen, need to actually pay meteorological department to be able to get information that you can put your viewers on what is happening, like FEMA would do in the US. People, when there are flooded areas right now, you find people move out of those flooded areas. When it is in the dry season, we have such a short memory. They go back and then start building up there. But because we don't have some of these organizations that can bring things together, we forget and then we start mismanaging. So we need to start thinking about these things and wake up and understand that we should be the moral police officers on matters of environment, not just issues about our home, or just saying the Constitution allows me to go to court. We should be morally right to be able to deal with these matters because they affect us. They affect our development. You can imagine matters. We are a country that is calling for investors. Yet we are the same ones who are destroying what investments have actually been put in. People are watching. We cannot even start calling for international investors when the local investors are not getting return on investment in the best way that they should out of matters that we can avoid.
Now your agency is about water towers agency.
Yes.
Are we sure our water towers now safe, you know, like Mount Forest? I think we went to half. I don't know whether you reclaim the whole of it. There was a gentleman who was appointed to take care of it, but are we sure that our water towers are safe? The last question before you close.
Yes, I think our water towers are safe. Our role is very clear, including MAU and many other water towers, is to coordinate and deal with issues. You can imagine there are multi-agencies, multi-players in these areas working with Kenya Forest Service, because water towers are also forests. Water towers in other areas are also part of the KWS system. Water towers are Nyayo T-zones. Water towers are all these organized. So putting together all these players to coordinate and be able...
There is corruption involved. When you talk about Kenya Forest Service, the foresters are the ones who allow people to go and cut trees in Mount Kenya. The people go there logging and nothing happens.
You're very right. And the matters of corruption are very, very high. And that is why even in London yesterday you saw a meeting on corruption. But this is why we are saying Kenya Forest Service is not bad. The director or the chairman is not bad. There are officers in those institutions that must be weeded out and be dealt with for future generations to understand that this person actually messed up and be taken to gallows if they have to be, because there are people who are actually messing up, issuing licenses and not standing to what the authority is required. Our water towers are safe. We are working with all the agencies, and it is the responsibility of every Kenyan to stand up and be that soldier that is supposed to see, because these are natural capitals that can create employment opportunities, that can clean up our air, and that can also give us a future that is assured.
Last one before you close.
First, I would like to say that on the issue of water towers, I think they are safe, and I want to clarify the issue of logging, because it's actually illegal to log as long as you are logging plantations, because plantation can regenerate. What is actually a problem is actually us encroaching on the natural vegetation, which take thousands of years or hundreds of years to mature. So I like to say that if that logging initiative is well coordinated, and plantation and replantation is done properly, logging can be a very big income generation earner. Finally, I like to comment on the issue of the rivers. The rivers are small as you go downstream nowadays, although they're supposed to be getting bigger, because they're supposed to be fed downwards from the existing aquifers. But now what is happening now is that all the wetlands which have been existing downstream from the forest, from Mount Kenya for example, they have been cultivated, they have been cleared. So there are no lungs for the river. So the rivers have nothing to feed them. So if you add that clearing of the aquifers, the wetlands, and also you add that one to encroachment by human activities, you can see that the danger on our rivers is real, and the danger on our humanity existence is real.
Thank you very much.
So I'd just like to say that we need all to adopt what my colleague has said, that we should all be that soldier, each one of us, to protect and to advocate for conservation of the environment.
We must say this, and I'm sorry that our time is gone. We need to also put our money where our issues and mouth are, because even in budgetary allocation, Kenya Forest Service needs a lot more money to do protection. I'll give you just one example as we finish. A water tower like Endau in Kitui, where there is big problem of water, 6,000 acres, only 2 wildlife officers manning that area. Yet we have so much resources in this place. The same thing with Kenya Wildlife Service. We are talking of poaching. They have very few askaris that can be able to deal with this thing. We must support them, because the safety of our water towers is equivalent to all this. And then also allow access to the wananchi in a coordinated manner, so that they can also benefit. When we are giving resources, let the immediate people who are protecting the forest be beneficiaries, not just getting strangers coming in and benefiting out of what they have been able to protect. Small things that make the change that this country can be able to see. And we must be action oriented, very pragmatic, without blinking of an eye for what is supposed to be done. If it is buildings in this city that must be brought down, let them be brought down in daylight, without having to think about it, because we must draw a line on what must be done for the good of this nation.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. The Orano Club, we are going to listen to the music before we go to the other program. Thank you.